Joining us today is Nitin Sharma, General Partner, Co-Founder at Antler India. Also with us is Anand Parameswaran, he's the Executive Director at BFSI Practice Head. It's basically banking, finance services and insurance sector. We also have with us Aman Chugh, he is CA and financial market expert and economist. Lots to ask him about that 1% TDC, so much confusion over which way that is really going to go. And also with us is Sachit Jolly, and expert partner and DMD advocate as well. Aman, let me begin with you. Lots of questions, but that 1% TDS has a lot of people still questioning, will it be credited back? Is this an addition? What happens in terms of transfer? What happens when you transfer, say, from one exchange to the other? Do you pay on both ends? Just tell us what exactly and how exactly is that 1% going to be charged?
So, Namaskar. I think this TDS provision, which has been incorporated within Section 194S, is more towards monitor any sort of transfer which comes in this space. And that's why, if you look at carefully the new section which has been introduced, which is 2 subsection 47A, it specifically says not only about the cryptocurrency, but it says about the virtual digital asset.
Yes.
And which includes any information, any code, any number or any token, which can be maybe fungible tokens later on going forward as well, not being Indian currency and any foreign currency. So that means they've actually kept only the unregulated, any sort of cryptocurrency or going forward any sort of fungible tokens or even maybe any sort of in terms of information or code being generated. And generated is a very apt word. Maybe they wanted to bring the miners also into the same through cryptographic means. So my observation is that this 1%, first of all, we should be very clear that this 1% is not of income, it is 1% of consideration.
That's right.
But obvious, anyone who does the payment has to charge this TDS. But of course, if it is not the specified individual, we call as specified individual in terms of the limit being given to the individual HUA which come under the audit category, which is 50,000. Other than that, it is 10,000, etc. So I'm not getting into that details.
Okay, but Aman, specific questions here. I understand that if you go into an exchange, they already, most of the credible exchanges have KYC, etc., right? So they have a way in which that 1% TDS can be taken off. So that I understand. When it comes to NFT, when it comes to mining, how will that be charged?
I think the clarifications will have to yet come because the operational issues will definitely evolve from here. But what my point of understanding here as of now is, even if we talk about exchanges on mining perspective or on transfer perspective, but even the individuals have also been brought into this ambit, keeping in view the kind of black money, I should not say this word, but the kind of black money which was siphoned off into the type of assets abroad in the form of different types of cryptocurrencies. I think one find that they would like to encash them. And that's where this catch has been incorporated, particularly this TDS 1% clause.
All right, so we still need to understand more. We still need to understand more about this, and we'll need all CAs like you to actually put your brains together and understand how this is going to unfold. Sachit is smiling because Sachit and I have been talking and we've been figuring out the details ourselves. Still a lot to be discovered over here. Sachit, what have you found out so far?
Well, like as always, the devil lies in the detail. Now, if you look at, and look at it in 2 perspectives. One is what we call the charging provision, which has been brought in, and one the TDS. Now, both have their own set of problems. If I start with the charging provision, Aman was saying, I don't think today we know whether the cost incurred by a miner to generate, in that sense, a token will be allowed as deduction of expenses, or will it be treated as cost of acquisition when you sell it. So a person may have actually put in some 15,000 USD to mine an asset, but when he sells it, he may not even get the deduction for that. I mean, huge consideration because the law is unclear.
Because the cost involved in that is huge as well. The amount of money you put down to get the systems in place is a lot.
And the point is, they say that cost of acquisition will be set off against the sale price, but it actually disallows any expenditure incurred to get the asset. So somebody will have to define, when you mine, is that cost incurred or is that an expenditure incurred? Both very fluid today. Secondly, to club NFTs with cryptos completely different genre of assets for me. Third, whether you will allow loss from one crypto against profit from another crypto in the same year, of course you can't spread it over. But if it's the same genre of asset, will you allow that set off? No clarity today. The section is very fluidly worded.
Yeah.
Then when you go to the TDS provisions, the problems compound. Now let's say like you said, you switch one exchange to the other. There is no transfer. There is no sale. You can't sell to yourself. You're only, relocating an asset. Will you apply a TDS provision? What happens if the TDS, one exchange is in India and the other exchange is outside India? How do you work it out?
No, but technically there would be two wallets, right? If you're on an exchange, you don't have a private wallet. Technically, it would be two wallets. So there would be transfer and there would be...
No, how will you transfer to yourself? See, the exchanges facilitate transfer. Exchanges are not transfer in themselves. So I think that's the clarity we are looking for. Secondly, and most importantly today, if you look at an example, if the seller is a non-resident party today and the buyer is an Indian, the TDS provisions, as they say, are today 1%. Now, in those cases where the seller is non-resident, you may have a 40% TDS because a non-resident will be subject to another TDS provision. 195.
Okay, let's just hold on to
I think that's just too much to...
I know. So what I'm getting a sense from both you and Aman is that there's a lot that still needs to be defined. And perhaps we're all really waiting for a regulation bill to define all this, right? To understand that not all digital currency or digital assets fall under one bucket. There are different forms and different ways in which they operate. So this blanket 30%, how is that panning out? I'm going to slip into a break. Then we'll go back to our other panelists as well and get their perspective. Stay tuned. You're watching Coffee and Crypto. Back. Let me go to Nitin Sharma now. Nitin, your thoughts on which way this is going and basically an understanding on how do you think the crypto community in India is going to respond to this? I know there is a petition out already which talks about bring down crypto taxes. There is a huge, sort of support group building up saying that this is not fair.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I think first of all, I believe our chartered accountant friends will be very busy over the next year understanding dog-shaped coins and ape-themed NFTs and various new instruments. Look, I think this has been perceived fairly positively in general because while technically it doesn't mean cryptos are legal, practically it means that there is some legitimization. And I think that above all, we've come from bans, criminalization, and wondering about blockchain but not crypto to finally at least saying that these are virtual digital assets, not private cryptocurrencies, because anyway, most of these projects are not trying to be currencies. And this whole debate of legal tender, they're not trying to be that. They are a form of asset anyway. So finally, that recognition is being
But Nitin, I get this response from all industry leaders. I get this response from all exchanges as well. When I speak to investors, they are upset. They, in fact, come out and say that, this is not what we thought crypto was all about.
So I think that I generally think there are three types of people in India in crypto, right? There are traders, there are holders, long-term investors, and then there are builders. And let's not forget that the third part is also important. They may not be trading everything, but they are trying to build startups and companies. So I think for the second and third category, the peace of mind, or at least some understanding that there is a legitimate framework is a good first step. This is the first step. That's all it is. But yes, for reasons that my peers here already went over, for traders, market makers in crypto, this is very onerous. And it is debilitating, and it's a clear statement that the government is exactly against speculative retail activity. Now, I think we can debate that, and I personally support it because I think a lot of things were being done which were honestly misinforming the retail buyer. True. So it is the job of the regulator to protect them. I do agree that tax is high, but
like the regulator hasn't put down any regulations; they've just put down taxes. That's the frustration at the moment. That maybe a regulation should have come first. But this is also welcome. This is also welcome.
My hope is that we don't just stick with this and use this as a way to delay regulation. Because if it's a few months away, that's a different case. But if it becomes a multi-year process, then this is not helping for reasons that we discussed.
Yes, in fact, what we are hearing is that the government is in no rush to bring in a regulation at the moment, and the Prime Minister is very clear that he wants to bring in a global regulation, something that he's talked about in international forums as well. So there is some time before we actually get that regulation up and running.
Absolutely, have to prepare for a multi-year process here, multi-year process.
Yes, yes, indeed. Anand is with us. He's Executive Director at and BFSI Practice Head as well. Anand, what is your recommendation to people, to young millennials? And I keep saying millennials, but the fact is people invested in crypto are way beyond that. It's not just metros, it's not just millennials, it's white-collared professionals who are actually taking calculated risks at the moment.
Thanks a lot, Sonal, for connecting once again. Okay, in fact, a few months back when we spoke, okay, that time the intention to invest in crypto was around 19% in urban India. That before the budget, we did a survey and actually jumped to 32%. Yeah, the budget. And actually came a lot from the salaried class rather than businessmen. Okay, and people who are investing small amounts of money. And you can see that there's been a pent-up demand. Okay, if you see the first day overall sign-ups for crypto exchanges, okay, in the last couple of days also, it has been 14x and 10x versus earlier. So there's been a huge rush to get in the money out here. And millennials
I'm sorry, I missed that last part. You're saying post the budget, what exactly are the sign-ups looking like?
It's almost like 10x and 14x, okay, as claimed by exchanges.
2 exchanges have claimed this.
Yes. Right. So you can see that there's a rush which is really there. There's a pent-up. It's also because millennials are looking for diversification of funds and are very clearly, okay, not looking at conservative assets. Yeah. It's not that they just want to invest in life insurance and other traditional investments and just grow over a period of time. They are quick buck and they will continue doing that.
I see. And in terms of, so exchanges claim that their user base has actually gone up. And will that sustain? What will happen next? And what will our friends, our CA friends tell us about how exactly to go about with these taxes is something that we'll keep talking about. Thank you all for joining us.